Hi everybody, this is Justina with JustynaTHandMade. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to scale down the pattern for the Aster zipper pouch slash purse organizer to create this cute little version of it. This is a pouch sewn at 85% scale. If you already have the pattern, you are good to go. Just print the panel 1 and 2 at 85% scale, and in the next clip I will explain to you how we're gonna adapt the rest of the pattern to get ourselves a small version of the Aster zipper pouch. If you like this pattern and you did not purchase it previously, you can grab a copy from my Etsy store. The link is in the description box below. This cute version have the two panel front and a plain back. I sewed it in with the woven canvas and waterproof canvas fabrics. I use Sew Fuse Plus as my interfacing for my cotton woven, and everything else stays unlined, which I think works just fine for a small little pouch like this. In this video, I show you the technique to adopt any pattern that has a multiple panel front to create a pouch. This applies to obviously this pattern, but I think you can use that little hack to sew other patterns that have multiple panel front or back that then needs to be put together, and you wanna scale the project up or down. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and I hope you're gonna enjoy this tutorial. If you do, please make sure to subscribe and to give the video a thumbs up. I also appreciate any comment. If you like to let me know if you enjoyed this video or if you need a little more help with the pattern, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you don't need a little pouch but you would like to support my small business, you can visit my Etsy store and purchase any pattern that is available. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you have any questions regarding any pattern, just reach out to me on Etsy. I will make sure to explain everything to you and to make sure if you decide to purchase anything, you have all the information needed. And now, if you want to see how I adapted the pattern to create this cute little version of the Aster zipper pouch, please keep watching. First, I'm gonna tell you how I'm approaching cutting out of the pattern. This way you won't have to worry about adjusting the seam allowance of the front panel, calculating 15% less of a seam allowance, which I think would add up to 1/16 of an inch. So we're gonna avoid all of that by creating our front panel first. So what I did, I used the panel 1 and panel 2 from the printed templates, and I cut one of those panels using those templates printed out at 85%. So they are way smaller. They're the original size, which here you can compare. So now that we have that cut, we just gonna prep ourselves 2 pieces or 3 pieces. So one outer piece from our outer fabric, which I'm using the same waterproof canvas that I'm using for the front panel, and I have 2 pieces for the lining. So I have that ready. I have my front of the pouch cut out, and I also fuse my cotton fabric with Sew Fuse Plus. I have my zipper cut. You can use the measurement from the pattern, or just roughly estimate how long you want your zipper to be. So you just make it a couple inches longer so you have space to work with. I have my zipper pull, which I customize, adding a little tassel. I have a video on how I do that with just a regular or just generic zipper pulls. I will plug that link in a video and in the description as well. I have my back tag, and I have a little piece of cork that is coordinating colors to create my zipper end. You can use pre-made metal zipper end, or if you have a technique that you really like to use to create the zipper, and you can do that as well. And I have some rivets prepped, so I can attach my back tag and attach my zipper end. So this is basically all the pieces that we are cutting. If you want to add the inside pocket, I would advise you to wait till you have the size of your lining cut, and then based on that you can create just a slip pocket, which should be easy enough. Just the length of the panel and the height, that it's not going to be higher than our sides, minus the seam allowances. So now that we have everything ready, we can start putting our project together. So first we're gonna take our front outer pieces, place them right sides together, and clip them along the straight middle edge. And now we can take it to the machine, and we're gonna sew along this side with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and a 2.5 or 3.5 stitch length. Just make sure you're gonna back stitch on the beginning and on the end of your seam. While you're doing that, you may wanna preheat your iron, because we wanna then press our seam allowance to be top stitched. Now that I have my panels, front panel sewn together, I'm gonna press my seam allowance. So I'm gonna press it behind my cotton accent fabric. And if you are using a waterproof canvas like I am, just make sure you're not gonna iron on the wrong side of the waterproof canvas, because it has a rubbery backing that can stick to your iron, so just keep that in mind. Now that we have our seam allowance pressed, we're gonna take the project back to the machine, and we're gonna top stitch along the seam with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that we have our panel top stitched, now we can use that as a template to cut out our back outer panel and our lining panels. Now that we have all our pattern pieces cut, and now we know they're gonna match perfectly because we use our ready template. We can now attach our back tag. Here you have to remember that that's gonna be our box base, so don't put anything too close to the cut. Choose best placement and attach your back tag. Now that that's ready, we can move on to work on our zipper. So we're gonna square off one pair of our zipper ends. I'm gonna use a lighter to do it, but you can square them off, secure them with a pin, and take it to the machine and base stitch it. When you have your end squared off, we're gonna now attach our zipper to our front outer panel, and we want to start at the corner on the left side. So you're gonna be clipping the zipper tape teeth side down along the top edge. On the other end, we want to mark about 1/2 inch from this little corner. So I'm gonna take my zipper and I'm gonna use a pin to secure it. I can do that because I'm using waterproof canvas, so I can pin through that fabric. If you are sewing this pouch using vinyl, just clip it and just mark the measurement of the 1/2 inch on your zipper without poking through your vinyl, so you're not gonna leave any marks. And now that we have our zipper clipped, we're gonna take the project to the machine and we're gonna baste our zipper on with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. You want to make sure that you are slipping your zipper tail as you're sewing towards the end. We don't want the zipper tail to be sewn in to the end of our curved edge. So take your project to the machine and baste your zipper on. Now that the zipper is based to our front panel, we're gonna baste the other side to our back panel. So you just want to make sure you are mirroring the layout. And when you have the other side clipped, you can now split your project. And now you're gonna take the back panel to the machine and you're gonna baste your zipper on. Again, making sure you are slipping this end off the edge. And you're gonna baste your zipper with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that we have our zipper sewn in to both front and back, now we're gonna put the outers together. So you want to make sure that they are right sides together, and you're gonna clip the sides. Here's a note that we're gonna approach putting the pouch together a little differently than the initial video of the big Aster zipper pouch. What we're gonna do, we're gonna insert our outside to our ready lining, and we're gonna connect it with the top seam this way. Putting the pouch together this way, we're gonna avoid having any shift on the connecting side seams. So this is the way I want to put this one together, to make sure that I'm gonna have a nice clean top edge. Or you can choose any method you like. You can do the usual, which would be now connecting the lining to along the zipper edge. But I want to try to put this one together a little differently, which I think will help us with having a nice transition between the outer fabric and the lining. So now I have my lining panels also put together, right sides together, and I'm gonna clip them on the sides and along the bottom. And in the lining, I'm gonna mark an opening in the bottom to make sure I leave it unsewn, so I can turn my project right side out. So now that we have our outer and our lining prepped like this, we're gonna take both to the machine, and we're gonna sew along the sides and the bottom of the outer with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 or 3.5 stitch length. With the lining, we're gonna sew the sides and those little parts of the lining, leaving this turning hole opening unsewn, making sure we are back stitching very well where we have our start and end of our turning openings, to make sure it's not gonna unravel when we turn our project right side out. So take your project to the machine, sew the sides and the bottom of your outer, and the sides and those little parts of your lining. Now that we have our outer and our lining sewn, we're gonna box our corners. So you're gonna fold your seam allowances in the opposite direction and clip. I like to make sure that I have the bottom seam folded in the same direction on the bottom. And when I have both lining and outer prep like this, I'm gonna take both to the machine, and I'm gonna sew the box corners at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 or 3.5 stitch length, making sure again I'm back stitching well on the beginning and on the end of the seams. Now that my corners are boxed, now it's time to connect my lining and my outer. So I'm gonna turn my outer right side out. And now I'm gonna place it inside of my lining. So I want to make sure that my outer and my lining is right sides together. And because I didn't add any pocket inside, it doesn't matter which way I do it. If you did add a pocket and you want it to be on the back or in the front, just make sure you are paying attention to it. If you have a pocket on the back, you want it to be on the back, just make sure it's gonna be on the back side of your pouch. So now I'm gonna place my outer inside of my lining, and I'm gonna start clipping or pinning actually the two parts together. First, I want to start with connecting the sides on the where we have our zipper ends squared off, because that's going to be the most visible place. I'm butterflying my seam allowances, and I'm gonna pin my lining to my outer. Now I'm gonna move to the other side, making sure that my zipper ends are tucked in and they're not gonna be caught in a seam. I'm gonna do the same on the back side of the zipper. So I'm making sure, if you having trouble, you can always pull the outer a little bit out of your turning hole. That gives you a little more space. And I'm gonna again pin in this place. Now I'm gonna move to the midpoint. When you have your outer and your lining pinned together, you're gonna sew all around with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I would start with the end where you have your folded zipper ends. Like I said, that's gonna be the most visible part, and you're gonna start sewing the straight part straight at 1/4 of an inch, then pivot, sew around straight up to the 1/4 mark, pivot your machine, sew at a straight line, and then sew back up to your first stitch. So take your time, don't rush it, remove the pins as you go, but everything should stay nice and secure in place if you have it pinned the way I did it. So take your project to the machine and sew all around the zipper, remembering about the zipper tails so they are nice and straight, folded downwards, and start with the part when you have the left side of your pouch where you have your folded zipper ends. The top edge is now sewn in. Now I'm gonna turn my project right side out. I'm gonna check if everything is looking good, if my zippers are looking good. It seems to be perfect. But if you happen to sew your zipper in, just rip that little part and just fix it. Don't think that everything always happens the first time around. That's the good part about sewing, that everything can be fixed, almost everything. So now we're gonna make sure that here our seams are fold it nicely. And here, because we did put this pouch this way, we have a nice perfect connecting of our outer panels and our lining, so we don't have to worry about shifting. We're gonna fold our lining and outer on the other side as well. Clip it. We're gonna pull on our zipper to make sure we have a nice rounded top edge. If you are using woven fabric or waterproof canvas, you can give the project a press, which that's what I'm gonna do. If you find that your outer fabrics or your fabrics in general are too stiff and they don't want to fold nicely to create the rounded edge, you can go in and you can create a little snips in your seam allowance, and that should help the fabric to lie better to create the rounded edge. Now that you have the top edge pressed or finger pressed, it should be ready for top stitching. So I also made sure that my sides won't shift, so I used some pins to hold those places together. And now I'm gonna take my project back to the machine and I'm gonna top stitch around the top edge with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, making sure I'm going nice and slow to give myself a nice rounded edge on the top of my pouch. Now that the project is top stitched all around, the last thing to do is, for sewing part of the project, is to close our lining. So pull the lining out, tag on the open edges, clip, and take it to the machine and sew along the opening with the 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 or 2.5 stitch length. My lining is closed. I'm gonna place it in my pouch, and now I'm gonna move on to finishing up my zipper. So I want to make sure I don't have any flies away, because that makes putting the zipper pull on frustrating. So you want to make sure that that's done. I'm gonna melt my ends and making sure that my zipper ends align in the front. I'm gonna put my zipper pull on. Give it a try. Mine looks like it's off, so I'm gonna give it another go. Now I'm happy how it looks like. And now that I have my zipper pull on, everything is looking good. I'm gonna work on putting the end on my zipper. I'm gonna trim my zipper tape. I'm gonna leave about 1 inch from the place where it's sewn in. Again, I'm gonna melt my ends. And I'm gonna take my zipper tab that I cut. It's 1 1/4 inches in width and 1 inch in length. So it gives me a tab that it's about 1/2 inches. You can use some double-sided tape to help you keep the tab in place while you're installing it. And now I'm gonna use rivets to attach it to my zipper. You can take it to the machine and you can sew it on if that's something you prefer, or you don't want to use rivets. And now the pouch is ready to use. Your 85% scaled down Aster zipper pouch is now ready to use. I hope you find this technique helpful. You can basically use this technique to adapt any pattern that has a complicated or multiple panel front to then create the rest of the pouch. Like I said, if you already have the pattern, you don't need to purchase anything else, and you're gonna be able to scale down or even scale up the pouch using these directions. And if you did find this tutorial helpful, please make sure to give the video a like and to check if you are already subscribed to my channel. If you want to join my small sewing community, please visit Facebook and join the Facebook group, or you can follow me on Instagram for any updates on new pattern releases or new video tutorials. Till the next time.